Well, all right. Good morning, Calvary, and welcome to day 3 of our Holy Week devotions. As we walk through the book of Mark on Jesus's last week, we started on Palm Sunday and we'll finish on Easter with this. Today we're day 3. It is Tuesday, April 7th. There we go. Chris left us yesterday in the middle of chapter 11. Day 3 goes from 11, 12, and all the way to the end of 13th. So today is the biggest chunk of reading for the week, and we're going to focus on just a small part of it. And in chapter 11, verse 20 of Mark, it talks about they started early in the morning, just like us today. And as they began, they were passing the fig tree that Chris mentioned yesterday but today it was withered from the roots up. And Peter remembered and said to them, "Rabbi, look, that fig tree that you cursed has withered," showing the power of Jesus. And then continuing, they walked into Jerusalem and they went to the temple. So today we are teaching in the temple, being questioned of his authority by the priest and the other religious leaders of the time. So Jesus is teaching through them. We go through some parables, but where we're going to focus today is in chapter 12, starting with verse 28. One of the scribes approached, and when he heard them debating and saw that Jesus answered them well, he asked him, "Which command is the most important of all?" Jesus answered, "The most important is listen, Israel, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other command greater than these." Then the scribe said to him, "You are right, teacher. You have correctly said that he is one and there is no one else except him, and to love him with all of your heart and with all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. It's far more important than all of the burnt offerings and sacrifices." Through the Old Testament, the books of Moses, the first 5 books in the Old Testament, we learn of 613 different commandments. So this scribe was really putting Jesus on the spot, trying to test him, and Jesus took 613 commandments for us and boiled it right down to love God, love others. And he quoted scripture as he did that, as he always did. The first scripture he quoted was in Deuteronomy chapter 6, 4 and 5, which is known as the Shema. And that's where it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And then he talks from Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18, which is the Lord speaking to Moses when God says, "Do not take revenge or bear a grudge against members of your community, but love your neighbor as yourself." So I think it's fascinating that 613 commands, and it's simplified down for us using that. Jesus was really the first to to combine these two commands, but it became the standard of followers in the New Testament, and for us today, that's our main commands. We hear from Paul in several places. In Romans chapter 13, verses 9 and 10, Paul tells us, "The commands, do not commit adultery, do not murder, do not steal, do not covet, and any other commands are all summed up by this commandment: love your neighbor as yourself." Love does no wrong to a neighbor. Love, therefore, is the fulfillment of the law. And James chapter 2, verse 8, we hear, Indeed, if you fulfill the royal law prescribed in the scripture to love your neighbor as yourself, you are doing well. Of all the teachings Jesus did, day 3 of Holy Week was where he got his primary teaching that we can use on a daily basis as a standard for our guidance. Now, how can we use this in our current crisis situation? As we're at stay-at-home, looking out for others, we can take those 2 simple commands and apply them on a daily basis. 1, love God. How can we love God in this crisis? We learned in our Joy series that you can find on the Info Hub. It's great to start every day with a scripture reading. We had before Psalm 100 was a good way to start your day to bring joy. When the second part of the Shema in Deuteronomy 6 and 7 says, "These words that I'm giving you today are to be in your heart. Repeat them to your children. Talk about them when you sit in your house, when you walk along the road, and when you lie down and when you get up." So that's some good advice. Start your day in the Word. Daniel has used the phrase before that it's best to start your day in the Word before you check in with the world. I'm as guilty as anyone. My phone is right beside my coffee pot where I start my day. But it's important for me, for others, spend time, quiet time in the Word, studying life of Jesus, spending some time in prayer, showing that I do love God, growing further in my heart, my mind, with all my soul, with all my strength. We always have the excuse, not enough time, we're too busy. Well, we've eliminated a lot of that. We've even freed up time by not so many people working from home. We don't have to commute. You know, that might take 15 minutes of a morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon that you're not commuting, that you have free time now. That's more time that you can spend in the Word and in study, with your family, sharing with your kids. There's some great resources out there to help you. If you go to our yourcalvary.info, we've got a card on there that has some apps and some different websites and things that you can do it. Feel free to ask staff for some resources. There's a lot of good daily devotions that you can start in with your phone and have some devotions to get your day going. So take advantage of that. Spend some time in the Word to love God, to grow through Him as we go through this situation. The second part, love your neighbor, love others. I'm out here on my front porch this morning. It's a beautiful morning. I got the birds going. The sun's going to come up eventually. It's been so fabulous to sit out here on the front porch and see the number of people out that you've never seen out before from a safe distance. It's great to engage with them and make small talk. You can, it's good. 2 easy questions are, how's your working at home? You must be on a work break. Or what's the silver lining in this? There's a lot of silver linings. So find ways to be a good neighbor. Do you know all your neighbors? Share with them. Make some small talk. There have been people having driveway gatherings. Instead of be a back porch person, be a front porch person. Spend some time with your neighbors, get to know them. Make sure you're checking in on family, friends, coworkers that you haven't seen for 2 weeks. Are we checking in with them? And then find ways that you can help. Everybody can help their own way. In Luke chapter 3, verse 11, John tells us, "The one who has 2 shirts must share with someone who has none, and the one who has food must do the same." Some have been blessed that we're able to work from home. We're still getting paid. Others are less fortunate. How can we share with them? How can we help with them? There have been a lot of great stories over the last couple weeks of people buying groceries for others, delivering groceries for others, helping, buying diapers, moms with little kids, kids writing letters, drawing pictures, sending them to the nursing home, making meals, making masks for those on the front lines. There's been great stories that's come out of this. There's so many silver linings. If you look on our info hub, yourcalvary.info, there's a card on there, I want to help. And maybe you just want to give money to help some of those that are going to have trouble paying rent. Be great to help. So love God, love others. I heard a little clip yesterday from a Liberty University professor, Keith Oglesby. He said a good little phrase to remember is, I'm third. God's one, others two, me three. And if you're taking care of God, loving others, then you're probably doing pretty good yourself. So I pray for everyone that you spend some time today celebrating the love of God in your life. Find ways to love others, be a good neighbor, be a good friend. So look forward to seeing everyone again and get through this. Praying for everyone. Spend time today in day 3 of Jesus's holy walk leading up to Easter. Finish up through the end of Mark 13, and we'll see you again in the morning. Have a great day, everyone.